Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy G, and I kind of wanted to come and give you my thoughts on the whole True Talent versus God June. Or it's not even a versus thing, right? They're just talking about their two philosophies. True Talent's philosophy on gem regression, Swifts, and things like that, and how it's kind of being perceived by the community, as well as Scott's opinion on True Talent and his critique on True Talent's kind of whole dichotomy, right? And basically, to summarize Scott's point, is he thinks True Talent's opinion on Swifts, right, that is incorrect, because what True Talent was trying to say essentially was, yo, we need to have some type of built-in way to deal with Swifts. Like whenever Swifts come in a match, maybe it should take 10% longer or something like that, right? To do gens. Some type of built-in counterplay to Swifts. And Scott vehemently disagreed with that. And kind of says that, like, Scott kind of came to the conclusion that Swifts weren't the problem in DBD, inherently, and that when you implement something that True recommended like that, right, like the whole slowdown because they're in a Swift thing, you're screwing over a lot of the player base who are Swifts, or just friends that play together. That not every Swift that you come across is a death squad, right? And while I understand that it can be kind of toxic to believe that every Swift is a death squad, right? It's very rare that you'll come across a death squad, right? Just like it's very rare that you'll come across an amazing nurse, right? It just doesn't happen that often. However, it does happen. Now, as being a killer main, someone that's played this game quite often, I do agree some point with True Talent, right? When Swifts are a thing, for some reason, you can just tell when you're playing against a Swift, right? I feel like as a killer main, you can just tell when you're playing against a Swift, because people start playing a lot differently, right? They start playing more altruistically. They start being a lot more cocky, especially when they're efficient. When they're really good survivors and they're a Swift, it's awful. You feel awful, especially when you're playing somebody who isn't the top three, right? Nurse, Spirit, Blight, or Hag. You're kind of coming into this place of, you're probably going to lose because the survivors are not only good, but they have communication. And I think people underestimate how good communication is in a game like this, right? Communication shuts down, like, whole killers, right? Like, if you know a Ghostface is a Ghostface before he gets the first exposed, and they communicate that, that can be a very big detriment to Ghostface. But not only that, it's also harder to deal with Swifts at higher level. And I feel like a lot of people have to understand where True is coming from mentally, right? Because True comes from the FGC. He's played a lot of fighting games in his career. And the thing about True Talent is when he talks, he's talking about that highest level of play, right? Like competition, competitive squads, going against people who've had 4,000 hours, not just your average survivor. Because your average survivor is really hard to, it's really hard to balance a game around your average survivor. And what True Talent is basically saying at the end of the day is, at this highest level, the game is not very fun, or it's not very playable at the highest level, right? That, having tournaments for this game is kind of a moot point because, you know, the game is so unbalanced. Now, while I agree that this game is not great at high level, right? Once you hit the high 4%, you're up there with like Dowsey and Scott and Tru and Ots and all these amazing killer mains, and you know, some amazing survivor mains as well. And you start going against these death squads, right? Like when Dowsey first came across MMR, well, not when he first came across MMR, the latest time they implemented MMR, Dowsey kept going against the same squad, and the squad was very, very sweaty, and it made the game unfun because, you know, Dowsey loves a good challenge, but when you're going against a death squad, the game is so unbalanced that it feels like you have to work 50 times harder in order to even secure like a regular match, you know, even secure like a 2K. And I definitely understand that sentiment. Like the game is definitely not good at highest levels of play, but I also understand where Scott's coming from, right? That this game really isn't meant for that. You know, when you talk about Dead by Daylight and you talk about the highest level of play or being an amazing killer and things like that, it's kind of understood that if you're going against really good survivors, that you're gonna lose. But that's just something that's understood. If you're going against a really good survivor team who are swiffing it up and things like that, you're gonna lose. It's just inevitable. Now, I think that's more of a knock on the game design than it is on the actual like community, because community can't fix the game, right? That's behavior's job. And I don't like how everybody's trying to turn this into like a Scott's wrong or a Tru's wrong. Like they're both right in a sense. Like Tru's right when he talks about how oppressive Swifts can be. Like Swifts can be really, really oppressive, especially when you're not prepared for it. Like I think the clips that Scott used, the first clip really did prove his point about, you know, sometimes you're just not playing well. That wasn't a good game for Tru. But the second clip when he was playing Plague, I feel like how Scott felt. This showed his point a lot more. That at the highest level of play, certain killers are just not viable. Like no matter how good you are, right? If you're going against that death squad, which again is rare, you're in for a bad time. Like you could only use certain killers, and for people to say that you can use any killer, it just depends on skill level, is false. I feel like it's very false. I feel like it shows a false narrative, because you're trying to essentially say like, yo, this is not a big deal, because if you get good, you should be able to deal with this. When essentially in DBD you don't get good. You know what I mean? Like you get good, of course. Like if you have like 8,000 hours in the game, yeah, you can become an amazing killer. But if you look at tournaments, you look at the highest level of play, like as a killer, and I'm talking purely from the killer's perspective, dealing with Swift 4-man 8,000 hour survivors, competitive teams, is almost guaranteed a loss, even when you're playing like the highest level, right? Because if you look at high level tournament play for this game, usually what they're running is Nurse, Spirit, or Hag with Noed and Corrupt and stuff like that. That's usually what's being ran. And it shows you the state that the game is in. And even when they do run that, they're not getting 4Ks, right? They're getting 2Ks. They're getting 2Ks, and that's about it. You know, that's kind of all you can hope for at that highest of level, right? If you're going against like the sweatiest of sweats, and that's because the game allows that at high level. Now, if you're playing casually and you don't take the game as serious, you're not a content creator, you're not trying to play tournaments in this game and things like that, then yeah, you're not gonna have a bad run of it, right? Like, you're gonna probably have 1 or 2 bad games per week, and you're just gonna chalk it up to, well, that's the game. That's kind of the mentality that Scott has. But as someone who is also from the FGC, you know, just like Tru3Ta1ent, it's kind of hard to accept that not only they didn't outplay you, right? Like, you don't feel outplayed. You feel like the game didn't give you the tools to deal with what you're fighting against. And that's the frustrating part. And I feel like that's where Tru3Ta1ent comes from. Sometimes it feels like the game doesn't give you the necessary tools to deal with the stuff that's happening. And that is very frustrating. And I completely sympathize with that, because I feel like that sometimes. I feel like that's the case when I play certain matches. That either the killer that I'm currently playing, like I play a lot of Trickster, just doesn't have the capabilities to deal with squads like that, or the people that I'm going against have so much that I have to chew through or go through in order to secure the win, that it feels like it's an uphill battle. And it feels like it's not fair, especially when you bring in map offerings and you have like 4 people trying to send you to Haddonfield and they all got keys and stuff like that. Like, it's sad to me that we have to have like a certain rule book to play in order to kind of be able to help the game seem a lot more balanced and a lot less frustrating. Because if you see like people sending you to Haddonfield and a whole bunch of keys, like the game is frustrating. And it's frustrating for survivors too, right? Because if a killer sees keys because of the things they went through, you know what I mean, they're gonna probably tunnel you, and then survivors are like, oh well, that's not fun, that's not fair, you know, I'm not a death squad. Well, how is somebody supposed to know that unless they look at your profile beforehand, right? They look at your Steam profile like every single time beforehand just to see if you're a sweaty survivor main that's part of a 4-man. And I feel like the way that Tru3Ta1ent articulated that just wasn't clear. I don't agree with Tru3Ta1ent's solution though, like putting in base slowdown. And I feel like Tru3Ta1ent was kind of just shooting from the hip. You know, he wasn't really coming with a guaranteed solution. He was just kind of saying, yo, this is a possible fix, right? I feel like one healthy way is kind of doing more of a Scott approach of letting us know when swifts are happening. Like this match, I was going against all rank 1s. Now, pretty much these guys weren't super sweaty, right? But they were sweaty, and it was really annoying. So I think that kind of wraps it up. Like if I was to know who was in a swift, you know, maybe I would bring in sweatier perks or sweatier add-ons or things like that. And I feel like that needs to be ironed out, because certain killers will lobby dodge, right? Or maybe they'll bring in red Moris to compensate. And that's something that you got to realize, that in every community there's always going to be people who take advantage of the system, right? But yeah, I want to hear what you guys think. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think about this Scott versus Tru situation, and how you think about it. Do you agree with Tru? Do you agree with Scott? Do you think, you know, one's right and one's wrong? Let me know what y'all think. Yeah, thanks guys. Talk to y'all later. Bye.